Mr. X with the Xtreme channel. We have a brand new segment that we're doing today. It's going to be a segment that we probably do 10 times a year, somewhere in that range, and it's called Xtreme Travels. Probably my second biggest passion other than collectibles is traveling. My wife and I have been all over the world. The second we got together 16, 17 years ago, we decided we want this to be important to us. We knocked out a whole bunch of traveling before we had our first child, and we continue to do it. We continue to take them. My children had passports when they were 1 year old. 1 year old, I guess. It wouldn't be years. And we just love it. Here's one of the things right when you walk into our home, something I bought for a long time ago. It's kind of pins of where we've been in the world, and we always look to grow on that. And a lot of these pins we've been to dozens and dozens of times. So for example, our favorite place to go is the Caribbean. We probably hit that 2 to 3 times a year minimum. So that's what this segment's going to be about, and we're going to focus on Xtreme Travels in September and kind of overview the 4 or 5 big trips I had in September and some of the things I liked about them. So let's hit it. Mr. X with the Xtreme channel here, and now that we are the Xtreme channel, the intro doesn't really go with traveling, but you can fast forward it if you want. That's why it says that. I am going to change up the intro at the beginning of 2020, just kind of a heads up. So month of September was really exciting for me. I got to visit a lot of places for business, a lot of places for pleasure, and a lot of cool things that went down. So first thing that went down that was really exciting is, as most of you guys know, I'm a football fan, both professional and college. Unfortunately, a lot of the teams I support are doing very, very poorly. And I'm not a bandwagon guy, so I stick with the team when they're good, when they're bad. But one of the teams I've stuck with for 25 years plus, 30 years, is the college football team of the Nebraska Huskers, the Cornhuskers. One of the reasons that I'm a big supporter of them is I went to school there while they were national champions. So if you can kind of put it into perspective, if you go to Clemson right now, more alerts, ESPN. If you go to Clemson right now or Alabama, you'd probably be a lifelong fan through the thick and the thin. Well, fortunately, at the beginning of this month, I had the pleasure of going to a Nebraska football game, and it was against Colorado, which is one of their arch nemesis. And it was a crazy, crazy game for multiple reasons. Normally, I wouldn't talk about a football game on here just because I went to it, but there was some extreme stuff that went down. So on a side note, just so you guys know, I wasn't planning on making a video on any of these trips, so I'm kind of piecing together videos and photos that I made without the intention of doing a video vlog, whatever you want to call this. But anyway, day started out, so Mr. X is Xtreme here. We don't get cheap tickets, we don't go easy, so we went out tailgating, we had an awesome time. Mrs. X right there, I don't know if any of you have seen her before, but hot as hell, is she not? So I'm a very lucky guy. We went out tailgating, we started getting drunk, and we were playing Colorado in Colorado. So one of the really unique things why this game was so extreme is there was more Husker fans than there were Buffalo fans, which you never see. So at the stadium and all around the stadium, as you see in a lot of these pictures and videos, there was actually more away fans than there were home fans. How devastating would that be to be a player? And this was a really big important game because Nebraska was ranked before the season started, having a horrible record last year just because people had high hopes for them. And again, they were playing kind of their old arch nemesis. So, and a lot of shady things went down with last year's game, and this is going to be the last time they play in a while. So, as usual, Mr. Xtreme does everything extreme. We had awesome seats, and the game started out fantastic. Like I said, not only was there an overabundance of Husker fans at the game, but the Huskers started destroying it. We had great views from our seats, and Nebraska continued to stomp on Colorado, and the game was all but won at halftime 17-0. Unfortunately, I'm not going to really show you too many more pictures or videos because it all went downhill from there, and it ended up with the Huskers losing in overtime. And then the 60% of the fans were Husker fans, had to walk through the streets of Boulder, Colorado, getting yelled at and horrible things said to us and pushed around because for some reason there's not a lot of sportsmanlike, which is very odd because in Colorado there's a lot of great people. So that was an extreme trip. It was really exciting. The atmosphere was awesome. During the tailgating, I had like 9 or 10 beers, so Mr. X was gone by the time the game started, but I sobered up during the game and had a fantastic time. So extreme event. Whenever I do concerts or football games or baseball games or basketball games, we always get great tickets. I'd rather watch from home than nosebleeds. That's just my opinion, but... Next extreme event is we had a trip to Omaha. If you don't know where Omaha is, you're probably like most of the country. Omaha is the largest city in Nebraska, and it is smack dab middle of the country. The only reason I am so well versed in Omaha is I was actually born and raised there. I lived there till I was about 20. So went to high school, I still have a lot of friends, and I had to take a business trip there for a week. Now, I wasn't even going to talk about Omaha because there's really nothing to talk about there. I'm not a fan of the town. It's a nice small town, 400,000 or 500,000 people. But the only good thing Omaha has going for him is my friends. Got to hook up with some friends. Got to hook up with Senor and Senorita X, my mother and father. Good to see them. And they have some food. I'm a pretty eclectic guy. I like food. That might become part of the channel someday. And just some of my favorites, if you haven't been to Omaha, check out Laszlo's Brewery and Grill. Fantastic place. Good beer. Kind of higher end bar food. They originated in Lincoln, Nebraska, and me and my best friend, we used to cut work all the time just to drive to Lincoln, Nebraska, which is about an hour away. We would skip work just so we could go eat there. And then they opened one in Omaha quite a while back, and I make sure I always hit it up when I'm there. Another place I always hit up is Charleston's, which is a chain located throughout the U.S., but not in a lot of places I've lived. It's kind of fine dining, not super expensive, but $30 a plate. And fantastic food, fantastic atmosphere. Every single thing on their menu is delicious. I love Charleston's. I highly recommend that if you're ever near one. And the last one, I think, is only in Omaha. They have a couple locations. It is the greasiest, nastiest burger place on the planet. Burgers are my favorite food, and this is no exception. The bag will rip through with grease before you can get it home. It's a fantastic place to hit up if you like that type of food. Broncos Burgers, highly recommend. So Omaha wasn't that exciting, but don't worry, we're going to get a little more exciting as we move on here. The next trip was to somewhere in the U.S. that, believe it or not, I'd never been to other than having a layover in the airport. It was to Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City, very similar to where I live, and it was beautiful. Here's some shots just flying in, which I'm never one of those people that take photos when I fly in. And for the record, I usually do fly first class because I like to get drunk on a plane. Keeps it entertaining, and I'm a taller guy, so, but absolutely beautiful photos, not only the mountains, but the sunset and the lake. And some really interesting things about Salt Lake. So Salt Lake kind of has this stereotype of, you know, the whole Mormon community. And I was kind of surprised at how evident that it actually was. Some things that were just different I'd never seen before. One, which was amazing to me, is that these crosswalks, they have flags that you take with you to the other side of the street and you wave as you walk across to make sure you don't get hit. Very, very interesting. So you can imagine me and my business associate I was with, we were just going back, we were doing that for fun. And we weren't even drunk because it's hard to get drunk there because they actually regulate the alcohol. It is unbelievable. I mean, millimeter. They regulate the alcohol, or milliliter, sorry. But one cool thing is we found like a speakeasy. which some of you know me really well, and you know one of my businesses, and you know how it tied into a speakeasy. So this is a video, again, I did not take this video with the intention of showing it on YouTube. I did it to show some of my old business partners, and really cool atmosphere, really neat. I was also able to make some stops at In-N-Out because there's not one in my area, and every single time I have In-N-Out, it's good, but I'm always disappointed. I think it's highly overrated compared to some of the other options you can do. And then, of course, my absolute favorite, which people criticize me all the time, is Sizzler. I love Sizzler. I grew up on Sizzler. Sizzler was where we went for our birthdays, and to this day, I still love it. The salad bar, I think the food is fantastic, and you either hate it or you are like me, and it's a nostalgic part of your childhood. So Salt Lake, the other thing I found about Salt Lake is the traffic was unbelievably easy. People there complained about it, but you could get across the entire town in 20 minutes. So really beautiful place. If you've ever not been, I recommend you checking it out. I'm going to have to go back up there, I think, next month. So I'll get some more photos and maybe do something in the mountains there. Then the last one, this is probably why a lot of people tuned in, is I went to Disney World. And every year we surprise our children. We pull them out of school, usually in September because that's the slower time of the year, and we go to Disney World or Disneyland. And we alternate. This year it was Disney World, which was equally exciting because Galaxy's Edge was opening. So I did a few new things this year that I want to talk about. And I want to kind of talk about each park. We just did Disney. We stuck with Disney. We didn't go outside of that. And just some of my recommendations. But Magic Kingdom, let's talk about that first. That's always our favorite park because of the age of our children. But my favorite rides we always go on is the Thunder Mountain, the railroad mini roller coaster. My kids and wife absolutely love it too. And we're very sneaky when we get into places like this. We're all business. We power walk. My children power walk faster than other people. And we always get to the front of the line. We don't like to wait in lines. We will not wait in a line if it's more than 20 minutes, but yet we always go on all the rides we want to, and we go on it multiple times. The other one I always hit up when I'm there is Mickey's Filler Magic show. I think that's how it's pronounced. This is kind of a 4D experience, and it shows all the classic Disney songs. Those are my absolute two favorites. Some other great ones there as well within Disney World. Second place we went to was Epcot. Been to Epcot many times as well. Really like the new Frozen water ride that they have. Not necessarily a water ride, but you are in a boat. It's very, very cool. And we also hit up their new Chevy Experience, which reminded me a lot of the Cars ride from Disneyland. This is a fantastic thing to check out. It's one of their most popular rides, so make sure to get in it early. And my last recommendation at Epcot is the Soarin'. This is one of my favorites. It's in both LA and Orlando. And if you get in the front row, you can be Superman. It really makes you feel like you're flying, especially some of the 4D stuff they've added, like the wind and the grass smell. Absolutely highly recommend those. Then the third day, we actually hit up somewhere I've never been before. I've been to Disney World probably about half a dozen times, but we've never gone to Animal Kingdom. So I said, you know what, let's do it. So we really wanted to go because of the Avatar experience they added. And I wish I had more pictures, but here's some outside of the Banshee ride. It really feels like you're on Pandora. It looks like floating mountains. We went there at 6 in the morning, so the ground lit up because it was dark. There was neon paint. It was freaking phenomenal in the engineering alone just to see it. And then I wish I had pictures, but we actually went on the Banshee ride, which is essentially a combination of Soarin', if you've ever been on Soarin', with the combination of Star Tours. So you're essentially sitting on a automated electronic horse, and you plug in as an avatar and you ride a Banshee and you see and feel all the 4D stuff. It is an amazing ride. I was extremely impressed with it. I would love to have done that more than we did it twice. I think I would do it over and over. But the other one that really impressed me was their safari. I think it was Kilimanjaro Safari. Very cool, much better than a zoo experience. We actually had a lot of luck where the animals were posing perfectly for us. You see real African animals in what, a false sense of wild. It is really, really cool. It was actually one of my favorite experiences. It wasn't very extreme as far as exciting, but just some beautiful, majestic stuff we saw. So on the next day, we actually hit up one of their water parks, and this was amazing, and I didn't get a lot of photos simply because we left our phones in our locker, but Typhoon Lagoon. And we have a local water park and amusement park that we have season passes to, and of course this was Disney and it was bigger and it blew it away. But particularly what I really loved about this place was, besides the alcohol options, which was great, I had a souvenir glass for $5 refills, but their wave pool had 15-foot high waves, and I wish this video did it more justice. So we would do this all day long. It would literally push you anywhere from 10 to 30 feet. I can't believe this is actually allowed because the amount of drownings and injuries I would think. Disney's Typhoon Lagoon, again, I highly recommend that if you're going there in the warmer months or semi-warmer months. And then I saved the best for last. Hollywood Studios. So the reason why I saved this for last is because New Galaxy's Edge is open and we were not disappointed. So first of all, I think they've done a fantastic job, just like they've done with Avatar, to really make it feel like you are on another planet that's related to Star Wars. From outside looking at the Millennium Falcon to some of the other decorative vehicles they had, some of the awesome shops. It really made you feel like you're shopping on Tatooine or somewhere similar. To the entire setup, we didn't really eat anything because it got really packed there. However, one other fantastic part of it was the Smuggler's Run. So here's some video I'm showing you right now. And again, I didn't take this with the intention of putting it on YouTube, so I do apologize. But essentially, you sit in a cockpit with 6 people, and I had no idea what the ride was, so it was even more entertaining. The front 2 people are pilots, the middle 2 are gunners, and the back 2 are engineers. And you actually play the ride. So you have to do certain things and hit certain buttons at certain intervals, and you have joysticks to navigate the Millennium Falcon, and you go into hyperspace, and it's a very virtual reality-like ride. And it makes you feel like you are flying the Millennium Falcon. And it was a fantastic ride. It's one of the best rides, if not the best ride I've ever been on, and I'm speculating a lot of the other rides that they're going to open up there are going to be even better. So again, here's that video. I hope it wasn't too shaky for you guys, but it's just really, really cool.
Let's get out of here! Yes, Chewie will pilot us in remotely. You retrieve 2 containers of coaxium. This will greatly help the resistance. You have heard the First Order and made Chewie proud.
So that was some of the Xtreme channel, some of my thoughts on those places. If you've ever been or you're ever going to go, check those out. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and hit subscribe. We're going to do regular traveling. I do head to New York, which this is probably airing after that, so you've probably already seen the footage. And then next month we do head down to the Caribbean, so we're going to do some videos on that. But as always, I really appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what your favorite rides at what Disney parks there are, or if you've been, or if you're planning to go soon. And hit me up with any questions as well. I'd love to answer them. Thanks so much. Take care.